Faking Love with the Billionaire Enemy. Chapter 2. Wheeling and Dealing with Reality. We held a wake for Dad, a night before the funeral ceremony. My heart was so heavy with emotions, but thankfully, Henning was there to squeeze my hand and remind me to breathe when it got overwhelming. The whole neighborhood was here. People who watched us grow up, grow apart, people who stood by Dad when Mom died, people he had helped and people who had helped Dad. Essentially, the whole place was full of people I didn't want to see, people who reminded me of the past. Oh, Zoya. It's been such a long time. I'm so sorry for your loss. Oh, your dad always spoke of you. Why did you never visit? He really did love you, children. I'm so sorry for your loss. You look so big now, Zoya. Don't let go of yourself now your dad is gone. He wouldn't like that. Why did you move away, Zoya? That must have hurt your dad, especially since your mom died. Zoya? Is that you? I hardly recognized you. I guess that's what happens when you move away for 10 years. Why aren't you married? Zoya? Your father would have loved to see his grandchildren before he passed. Grandchildren? I thought we all came to mourn Dad together. Why was I the one being persecuted? Why were all these people breathing down my neck? Was my only crime not dying 10 years ago, but leaving town? Why did it feel like I was on trial for crimes I didn't commit? My head began to spin as all these questions weighed me down. Henning was on the other side of the room, preparing to give his eulogy. Marcus was there beside him, and he caught my eye when he turned. I was going to be sick. The people continued to talk over me, and I zoned out completely. There was no answer I could give to satisfy them. Thank you all for your condolences, but if you'll excuse me, I need a moment, I said, finally mustering up the courage to leave the wolves. I weaved through the small crowd and found my way up the stairs. I immediately go to my room and locked the door behind me. I hurriedly took off my blouse and ran to the bathroom, willing the contents of my stomach to give me a minute to get through the bathroom door. When I was done, I sat on the bathroom floor and cried. I hated being here. I knew I couldn't stay here forever, so I picked myself up, washed my face and rinsed my mouth. Then I looked in the mirror and willed myself to be strong. This is for Dad. All this is for Dad, I reassured myself. I walked back into the room and picked up my blouse from where it had landed, dusted it off, and put it back on. Standing in front of the mirror, I readjusted my clothes and made sure I didn't look like someone who had just spilled their guts out a moment earlier. A knock on the door startled me. Zoya, what is going on? Marcus asked. What do you want, Marcus? I replied coldly. Listen, I don't want to be here either, but Henning and I saw you rush up the stairs and it's been 30 minutes, so he asked me to check on you. Oh. I'm fine, Marcus. Good. He has started the eulogy, so let's join him, he replied. I'll meet you downstairs. Zoya, I'm not leaving this place without you, let's go. Now. I unlocked the door and walked past him. There was no point arguing with him, especially since Henning had pleaded with me. I could hear Henning from the top of the stairs as I walked down. You all knew my father, some of you even better than I ever could, but if there was one thing he had an abundance of, it was love. Life wasn't always kind to him. He lost the love of his life and was left with 2 grieving children who could never understand his own grief, but that never stopped him. All of you here are a testament to that. He never regarded just Zoya and I as his only children, but took in any and everyone whom he felt needed that touch of love in their lives. And because of that, I have also gained lifelong friendships and relationships with people who have been brought together by his umbrella of love. Thank you all for joining us to honor him one last time, and may he rest peacefully in the abundant presence of love he sowed, and the peace and comfort his memories hold in the hearts of all he touched. Thank you. A booming round of applause followed the end of his eulogy, and I could see him searching the crowd for my face. I was already teary-eyed by the time he caught my gaze, and he walked over and gave me a long hug. That was beautiful. Daddy would be so proud of you, I whispered, letting the tears flow. Moments later, when all the food and drinks Marcus provided had been shared, and when the last lingering guest had gone, the cleaners Marcus hired began to clear everywhere, and in less than an hour they were done. Henning and I finally got a chance to speak about how the day had gone. He was standing on the porch, so I went outside to join him. Your eulogy was amazing. You held their hearts in your hand for those moments. I'm so proud of you, I said, giving him a pat on the back. Thank you. I was thinking about what you might say and added on top of that, he replied. Really? You think I could come up with that? I answered, chuckling. Stop it, he replied, laughing. Why did you run up the stairs? He asked, facing me. Well, I sighed, taking a deep breath. I was being drilled with questions. Someone even asked me why I didn't give Dad grandkids before he died, I replied. Oh my God. Why didn't you say something to me? I could have asked them to leave, he replied, visibly upset. It's okay, Henning. I just needed a moment to clear my head, and besides, you were preparing for the eulogy, I responded. Zo. It's okay, Henning. It's just for tonight, right? The funeral won't have as many people. HMPH. You always do this. He sighed, palming his face and shaking his head. That's why you love me, I replied, laughing. Let's go get some sleep. We'll need to be well rested for tomorrow, Henning replied. Sounds like a plan, I responded. Morning came and the air felt still. Today felt like a day that would never come, yet here it was. I calmly went through the motions of preparing, took my shower, got dressed, made sure my purse was full of all I would need, tissues, sunglasses, the whole 9 yards, and came downstairs. Henning and Marcus were seated in the living room, going over the final arrangements for the day. A few minutes later, we set out for the funeral home. The car ride was silent as everyone was in a somber mood. The steady breathing and revving of the car engine were all that could be heard. My mind was blank. I couldn't myself to harbor any thoughts, since they would all wander off beyond my control. Eventually, we arrived at the funeral home. Everything felt like a movie, felt stoic, scripted. Dad laid in state for a few minutes, and everyone gave their last respects. Seeing Dad like that, still and lifeless, made me feel empty inside. I couldn't even get myself to cry, it all just felt wrong. The procession began to move towards the graveyard, and I still felt like I was on autopilot. Marcus and Henning had to move mountains to get a space beside Mom. It's where Dad requested to be laid, and they made it happen. After a few words were said, I watched them lower him into the ground. Once he reached the bottom, they began to close the hole, and in a few minutes he was gone for good. A few days later, I prepared to go back home. I'd spoken with Henning, but he said we needed to go through Dad's stuff first, to know what to donate, keep, and make plans for the house. I had been putting it off, because I wasn't ready to go into his room. Eventually, we made our way to his room to begin. The air here still smelt like him, like he had never left. It was too much for us, as it ushered in another bout of tears. He really was gone. When we pulled ourselves together, we walked back in, holding each other close. I decided to start with his table, a corner of the room that looked perfectly preserved. I vividly remembered him leaning over the table, making business calls, spending late nights crouched down working after putting us to bed. I ran my index finger across the length of the table, letting the memories wash over each other in my mind. I sat in his chair and took a deep breath. It was time to begin. I started by taking down the stack of files, flipping through them to make sure nothing would be missed there. When I was sure they weren't, I stacked them neatly into a box. Gradually, the stack of files became just one file left. I flipped through it, and 3 envelopes fell out. Henning. Come here, I found something, I exclaimed, carefully examining the envelopes to see they were addressed to us. I opened mine and realized it was a letter. Very typical of Dad. Zoya. My dearest Zoya, my baby girl. I know how hard you push yourself. I know how much you blame yourself for everything, for losing your mom, for the accident, for being the one who survived. I want you to know that it was never your burden to carry. It was never your responsibility to shield the rest of us from the dangers of life, the pain of death and grief. You were a child. You were my child. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Oh, I miss your mother every day. I miss you too, I really do. I miss how your laughter bounced off the walls of the house. I miss how you kept Henning humble and on his toes. I miss watching you grow into yourself right here in this house. I know you could not bear to live here anymore after all that happened, and I respect that, which is why I'll never tell you all these things while we're on the phone or when I come visit. I don't want you to ever feel like it isn't your duty or choice to make your life your own way. I will always support whatever choices you make. Although I always wanted to walk you down the aisle. So here's my last wish. I know my choice isn't ideal because you also blame him for everything, even though we both know it's neither of your fault how things played out. I want you to give Marcus a chance, and I want you two to be engaged for some time, at least 2 months. Now, I know everything in you is protesting. I'm your father, I know you. But just remember, I'll never do anything to harm you. Marcus is the only man I trust to give you the experience of love I know you will forever deny yourself, so for my sake, take a chance on this, fulfill my last wish. It doesn't have to end in marriage or anything. This isn't a fairy tale, but an old man can always dream. I love you, my baby girl. Always remember that. And keep Henning in line for me, would ya? Take care, my princess. Love. Dad. What on earth did I just read? I screamed. What? What's wrong? Henning asked, concerned. Here. Read it for yourself, Dad lost his mind. I replied, handing him the letter. I'm done for the day. There's no way I'm going through with this. I huffed. Henning, where you at, bro? Marcus's voice boomed from the living room. We're in here. In Dad's room, Henning replied. Oh good. You're here, now I can let you know my decision right now. I started as Marcus walked in through the door. Whatever sick and twisted game you and my dad decided to play, count me out of it. There's no way I'm going through with this. What are you talking about? Marcus asked, genuinely confused. Here, Henning replied, handing him his envelope and mine. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to pack and get on with my life. I need to get back home as soon as possible, I said, storming out of the room. I huffed and puffed around my room. The pacing did nothing but make me feel more out of control. What did Dad mean by it? One last wish? It's more like a death sentence. Who does he think I am? I hurriedly began throwing all my stuff back into my suitcase. I had made up my mind. I was leaving immediately. Out of the blue, my phone began to ring. I wanted to ignore it, but a peek at the screen revealed that it was my boss. Hello, Zoya, he began. Hello, sir, I replied. How did the funeral go? He asked. It was fine. I'm preparing to come back to work. About that. There's a reason I called you this afternoon. Okay, I'm listening. Look, Zoya. You've been working hard, but we feel like something is missing. The last client you worked with had a lot of complaints and went on social media to complain. Bad PR is terrible for the company. Mr. Rufus, you know what happened wasn't my fault. The customer even endangered my life. You know all this. Besides, you were the one who handed the client over to me after working with them for some time. You knew they were trouble. I responded, furious. Zoya? I hate to be the one to throw you under the bus, but the company council decided to suspend you till this whole issue blows over. Rufus responded. What? This isn't fair, I did nothing wrong here. Sometimes life isn't fair. Goodbye, Zoya. I screamed and flung my phone on the bed. Today couldn't get any worse. I ran my fingers through my hair and continued pacing. I caught a figure standing in the doorway from the corner of my eye. I had forgotten to close the door while I rushed to pack. What on earth do you want, Marcus? I screamed. Well, someone's a mess, Marcus replied. Yes, I am. And I would prefer to be alone, thank you very much, I hissed. Well, there's no point packing if you're not going back to anything. Isn't that so, Zoya? Marcus, I would greatly appreciate it if you could go away. Right now. Listen, Zoya, Marcus replied, walking into the room and making himself comfortable on the chair. We both dislike each other, understandably so. But now, here we are. I can help you, and you me. It is important we fulfill your father's last wishes, even though neither of us wants to. Now, if you agree with me to get through these months ahead of us cordially, I will do everything I can to get your job back. And if I can't, which is almost impossible, I'll write you a blank check so you can start up anything your heart desires anywhere in the world. Keep your filthy money to yourself, Marcus. I will never agree to even be in the same room with you, much less be engaged to you. Why is this even important to you? My dad is gone. There's nothing else to say or do. Zoya, I honestly do not care what you think of me, much less what you feel at this moment. Your father was important to me, and his wishes are eons away on my scale of importance to your childish feelings. He stood up and continued, I'm giving you 3 days to be a mature adult and think about this proposition. After that, what you do with yourself is entirely your concern. He walked away without as much as a backward glance.